Good evening and namaste. Welcome back to the Asana Sana Yoga studio. We are here this evening for our Savasana Yoga class at its new inaugural time at 8 p.m. now, Thursdays. So I'm so glad that you're all here with me today. And as always with the yin class, this class is going to be performed mostly lying down and on a mat. So you don't have to worry anything about standing. We laying down, and as always, you can use a few different props. I like to have on hand just a nice firm pillow or a bolster and also my blocks as well. Um, However, if you don't have any blocks or bolsters with you, these poses are perfectly fine to do without them. So, as always, let's find ourselves seated here, crisscross our applesauce as we come into Sukhasana. If you'd like, you can sit on your pillow or your bolster, or even prop your knees up underneath the blocks. But first, before you do, go ahead and recross your legs so that we can fix our alignment. Let's lean forward, moving the flesh of our sits bones aside as we come to find ourselves in a good, supported, proper position here. Just wiggling our bottoms, finding ourselves nice and comfortable here. And as always, let's take an inhale, sending our arms up into the air. Let's exhale, bringing our hands down in front of us into prayer pose. And from here, let's take a deep breath into the nose. And let's exhale through the mouth. You may release your hands from prayer pose, placing them into the Om Mudra or just resting them gently on your knees. But here, let's just take a moment to set our intentions and ground ourselves before class starts. And as always, I will share my intentions with you. I intend to lead you all through a relaxing yin class. Tonight, we are focusing on an anxiety release style yin flow. So, keeping ourselves nice and cool, calming the body, getting us ready for sleep. With that being said, I hope you've set your intentions. Let's get started on our work, on our flow. Now, as this is a yin flow, we really don't need to do much in the lines when it comes to warming up. So let's scurry ourselves into our first position. And for this, you have two options. It'll be legs upon the wall. So if you have a wall, you can go ahead and send your legs up the wall if you have one near you. If not, you have a pillow or a bolster. Find yourself lying reclined on the mat, flat back, keeping the feet right on the floor here as we bend our knees. Using your bolster, just bring our knees up to our chest and slide the bolster underneath, bringing our knees up. And it will feel a little easy to do it because it's a bit of a support when you get there. So holding yourself there. Now let's just drop our hips, wiggling that block to a part where it's nice and comfortable, supporting your lower back, not directly on the spine there as we hold our legs up in the air for legs up the wall. Of course, if you have a wall, please see yourself placing your legs up against the wall for this position. And let's just take a deep inhale through the nose, exhaling through the mouth as we settle into our position, holding our legs up. We're going to hold this pose here for 3 minutes. And if keeping your legs straight up in the air, if you're not on the wall, is too much, you can always bend your knees here. You will get, keeping the legs straight up in the air, you'll get the same flow. Even removing the block works as well. So this is just as good. Excellent. And your hands may rest either at your side or on your belly. Breathe into this restorative pose. let's do a body check here and seeing if we're in a comfortable position. If you need to readjust your bolster, go ahead and place your feet on the mat, pressing into a slight bridged position, adjusting the block or your bolster as needed, coming right back into the position. Maybe if you want to change your legs, you're welcome to do that right now as well. We have another minute in this pose. Wonderful. Let's begin to take our last breath in this pose. And if you have your legs upon a wall, please find yourself back to your mat, resting with your feet flat on the mat. If you're being supported by a bolster or by a block, let's bend those feet down, placing the soles of our feet on the mat, pushing up into a bridge, removing our block and or our bolster from underneath us. Let's keep ourselves on the mat here, keeping ourselves nice and comfortable, laying down. And if you have a pillow under your head for this one, you may want to move it. We're going to keep our legs actively engaged by taking an inhale. Let's send our arms overhead, clasping into what I call our Charlie's Angels fingers. Taking a deep inhale, allowing the chest to open. Let's exhale, kind of bending the body over here to the right side, coming into our banana bends to the right, laying on the floor. Let's just hold this, breathing deep, sending our intention and all of the stretching into our left side body. I'm going to hold here for 3 minutes. And let's scan our body for a body check. Are our legs still active and engaged? Are we flexing our feet? Are we still breathing with intention into our left side body? Let's keep sending that attention there. 1 more minute. And let's take our last breath in this pose. And as we exhale, let's bring ourselves back to the center. Staying with our hands and arms in the same position, let's take another deep inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, find ourselves coming over to the left side, stretching out that right side body, keeping the legs actively engaged as we come into our banana lateral pose. Keep breathing here, sending your intention with each pull, seeing if you can bend just a little bit further with each exhale as we stretch the right side body. And we have a scanning body check here, making sure we're keeping our elbows down from our ears, keeping our arms engaged, ensuring that we're stretching that right side body as we keep our legs actively engaged, breathing through the nose. One more minute to go. Let's take our last inhale in this pose. And as we exhale, let's find ourselves back situated in the middle here. Let's release our hands and use them gently as we come up, seated into a full staff pose, readying our bodies for our next pose here. Now with this next pose, we're going to come into a caterpillar pose or our seated forward bend. You may use a block, you may use a bolster or a pillow, but we're just going to support ourselves here in our head, coming into this supported side bend. So let's inhale, sending our arms up and overhead. Let's first, actually, before we inhale, let's go ahead and separate the flesh from the sits bones. Inhale the hands overhead. There we are. And as we exhale, let's bring our forehead down to either our bolster or our block, coming into that forward bend. Now, if you're not feeling the stretch in the legs today, go ahead and slide your blocks underneath your knees. Aha. And if you have a pillow, you can go ahead and lean on a pillow here with your hands, or you can even just lean yourselves forward, resting here, crossing your arms as a support. Keeping ourselves in our position, let's take a deep inhale. Exhaling into our position of choice, let's hold here, coming into our caterpillar pose or seated forward fold. Let's scan our body, doing a body check. Do you feel yourself being able to lean forward a little bit more? Can you turn your blocks to release into the stretch just a little bit more? Keep breathing as we have one more minute to go, feeling our bodies lengthen as we hold this pose. Let's take our last inhale in this pose. And with an exhale, let's see ourselves sending our arms up into the air, exhaling them down onto the mat. What a refreshing pose. All right, let's move our props out of the way as we ready ourselves for our next position. Let's keep our blocks. We're going to use these coming into a tabletop position. Let's place our hands. I'm going to go ahead and just move this pillow a little bit more out of the way. Coming into a tabletop position here, we're going to place our hands on top of the blocks, slightly extended out in front of us. So almost about to the top of the mat. Let's take a deep inhale as we slowly sink our chest down, possibly moving the blocks out, coming into our puppy pose here. And you can go ahead and put your head on either side that you'd like to lay it. I will cue us halfway through if you'd like to switch your head around. But let's come into our puppy pose, or even if you want to place your forehead right here on the mat. These blocks under our hands will actually help to start to soothe the upper body. It's almost an anti-pose if you've been on a phone or a computer all day. It's a relaxing pose to kind of get us ready for sleep. So resting into this pose, this puppy pose, gently support yourself here by placing your forehead down on your mat or placing it to either side. Let's take a deep inhale. With every exhale we take in this pose, see if you can sink just a little bit further into this puppy pose. Let's keep breathing here. And let's do a body scan check. If you are resting your head on either side, you can go ahead and rotate it around. If you're finding that the pose with the blocks underneath your hands is too much, you can go ahead and slide your blocks down your forearms here, supporting your forearms coming into the same bend. Let's keep breathing here as we have 1 more minute in this pose. Let's take our last breath in this pose. And as we exhale, let's bring our body slowly up, finding our hands back on the mat, coming into our tabletop pose. Let's just take a deep breath as we drop our belly, filling up, coming into a cow pose, gentle cow. And as we exhale, let's curl ourselves up, coming into that cat pose. Just doing a little bit of a brief spine opener. Excellent. Let's find ourselves coming to seated on the mat. And if you'd like, and you have a pillow, you're welcome to sit it underneath your bottom. You can even sit on your bolster here, but we're going to come into our Baddha or butterfly or cobbler pose. So let's find the soles of our feet together, separating the flesh of our sits bones aside so that we can find comfort. If you're not sitting on a bolster, or if you have another one, you can always use that to prop yourself up here as we come into our Baddha, or you may use your block, as always, to come into a little bit more of a forward fold. So, as always, let's inhale, bringing those arms up overhead. Let's exhale, sending ourselves, bending from the waist, coming down into our Supta or our Baddha butterfly pose. And you may rest your hands on your feet or on the other side of the block. Entirely up to you. So. Let's do a body scan check. Would you like to add a pillow, as I did, to my bolster? Would you like to add another block instead? Entirely up to you. Maybe sliding the blocks under the knees. Let's keep breathing here as we hold ourselves for another minute. Excellent. Let's take our last breath in this pose. And as we exhale, let's see ourselves coming back up to seated. We're going to continue ourselves here into our butterfly poses by keeping our right foot bent. We're going to extend our left as we come into a half butterfly. Let's take our block, placing that on the knee. We're going to bend ourselves, coming forward as before, placing our head right here on our block. And I'm going to remove my glasses. So take a deep inhale, flexing that foot. Exhale, let's come forward, bending at the waist, holding ourselves into our half butterfly on the left. And keep breathing through the nose as you find yourself easing into this restorative pose. And body scan. Let's see if we can relax our jaw and unclench our teeth if you're holding a little bit of tightness in that area. Let's keep holding this pose for one more minute. And let's take our last inhale with this pose. As we exhale, let's find ourselves coming back here up to seated. Let's go ahead and remove our block. I put my glasses back on so I can see all of you guys. And I'm just going to turn this direction just for your benefit here. Let's find ourselves bringing our extended left leg around the body here, and we have two options. You can keep yourself here in stag pose and support yourself this way. We will be laying down for a sleeping swan, so if you have a pillow or a block, you can go ahead and put that under your head. Or you can come into a full extension of a pigeon pose, coming into a sleeping swan as we lower ourselves down onto the mat. You can even use your pillow here if you'd like instead of a block. And also you can use your block to support underneath your hip on the other side. So let's find our sleeping swan of choice. Let's take an inhale. And as we exhale, find ourselves dropping our heads to our block in this supportive yin pose here, opening up the thigh ever so slowly. Settling in. Let's see, and for me, this is always one of those poses where I start out one way and end up with the pillow as always. And let's do our 2-minute body check, making sure that our hips are still squared to the front of the mat. Readjusting as needed. Let's hold here for 1 more minute. Let's take 1 more breath in this pose. And as we exhale, let's find ourselves coming back into our seated position, removing our props, removing the blocks to the side, removing our pillow. Excellent. Let's find ourselves once more into our cobbler's pose or our butterfly pose. And this time we're going to extend the right leg out, sending the left leg to the inside of the thigh here. Let's bring our block over or our pillow, whichever you'd like to use. Let's take a deep breath in with an exhale. Let's come on down into this pose. And it's always fun for me because this pose I can go a little bit flatter on this side so I don't need the pillow. Exhale here, holding in to our half butterfly, resting our arms gently by the side, breathing in this gentle yin pose. And do be sure you're bending at the waist instead of arching or holding out of the back. You don't want to injure your lower back. And let's do a body scan. And if you find any place in your lower back maybe pulling, try sliding a pillow or a block underneath the other knee, the one that's bent. That might take a little bit of the pressure off. Let's keep holding this position for another minute. And let's take our last breath in this pose. With our next exhale, let's find ourselves coming back up into seated here. And just as before, I'm going to turn to the side for your benefit. Keeping our leg bent, let's just rotate that right leg around this time. Remember, either coming into our stag leg, let's turn it this way so you can see me, coming into our stag leg, coming down that way, or fully extended into a sleeping swan. So let's get ourselves situated into our position of choice. I'm going to go ahead and slide a block under my hip on the other side, just as always. Let's exhale, take a deep inhale, exhale as we come down into our swan of choice. Let's hold here 3 whole minutes. And let's do a body scan here. About 2 minutes in, let's unclench our jaw, lower our shoulders from our ears, and relax our neck. Also make sure that our hips are still square to the mat. Even though we are in a relaxing yin pose, it is important to keep proper form. Let's keep holding here for 1 more minute. Let's take our last breath in this pose. And after our last exhale, let's inhale ourselves, coming up into seated in the mat. Removing our props. Taking a moment here to just rest. Next, we're coming into one of my favorite poses, Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined butterfly pose. So as before, let's just go ahead and arrange our blocks. So you have one up kind of this way on the middle here. And then we have the other one here, meeting it at its T, this way or this way, just depending on how much you'd like to be supported in your reclining. Let's place our pillow right there on the top of that so we have our support. Bring our bottom and our back right to the edge here. Let's go ahead and relax ourselves coming down to our Baddha Konasana, keeping our knees in our butterfly pose. Now, you may also just lay yourself flat back if you'd like that, or if you have extra blocks, you can place them underneath your knees or a rolled up blanket underneath your knees for a little bit more support. So let's take a deep breath coming into our pose, situating our pose. And if this is too much of a strain, go ahead and send your legs forward, opening them up just a little bit. Let's release into this wonderful, really relaxing hip opening pose. Let's scan our body. If you're starting to feel a little tightness in your hips, go ahead and extend your legs just a bit, maybe separate the soles of your feet. Let's hold here for 1 more minute. And let's take our last inhale in this pose. And with our next exhale, let's find ourselves coming up into seated once more. All right. Turning to face the candle. Let's go ahead and remove blocks here. And we're going to come into our fire log pose here. So to fire log, you just want to keep your legs parallel to each other coming into this pose. Let's take a block, sliding that underneath the knee here if you need a little bit of extra support. But let's separate the flesh of our sits bones here too before we get our legs situated so that we can get nice and comfortable on the mat. Inhale, let's help that knee up, placing that foot on the other knee. So we want to keep our feet nice and stacked. And you can either go ahead and use a pillow or you can use a bolster or a block to do that. Let's find ourselves resting in this pose. Inhaling. Let's allow the magic of gravity to do its work. Excellent. Let's take our last breath in this pose. As we take our next exhale, let's remove our props. Help that leg down. Let's extend the legs out in front of us here. Just give them a gentle wiggle. And let's go ahead and switch legs. So this time the right leg's on the bottom. We're going to help our left leg across. And to do fire log, what you want is your legs to be stacked parallel against each other. And if you're not quite in that dexterous mode just yet, as I am definitely not myself, you can go ahead and use a block here to support, or a pillow to support getting into that pose as your hips slowly open up. So let's find our fire log, placing our block or our bolster, pillow, blanket. Let's take a deep breath, rolling our shoulders up and back, sending the shoulder blades down the back. Let's sit up nice and tall as if a string is being pulled from the crown of our head. Relaxing into this pose. Let's take a deep breath. Let's hold here for 3 minutes. And let's take our last breath in this pose here. After that last exhale, let's find ourselves removing our props, gently helping our leg out of this position. Let's go ahead and extend the legs out in front of us. Give them a good, healthy shake. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let's place our props here to the side. Just going to move my pillow out of the way. And let's find ourselves fully reclined once more on the mat. So I'm just going to gently move these over there. I like to just throw myself back this way. It's just a nice way to get down, but however you find yourself laying on the mat is perfectly fine. Excellent. Now that we're here, let's go ahead and bend the knees, bringing the feet flat to the mat. Let's go ahead and curl the pelvis just a little bit, bringing it up, exhaling as we drop our tail back on the mat, making sure that our lower back is on the mat here. Let's inhale, sending that right knee into the chest, extending that right leg. Let's go ahead and slide the left leg down as we take our left palm, sending the right leg over, coming into an extended twist. Here now, you may also bend your knee if you find that to be just a little bit more comfortable. And if you'd like to extend the pose fully, let's go ahead and bend that right or that left leg, coming into cat pulling tail. You can support yourself here too with a block as we come into our lying leg twists. Excellent. Breathing here. Keeping ourselves active. And if you're in the full extension of cat pulling tail, let's go ahead and release that leg. And everyone, let's extend that left leg out. Taking our last breath in this pose, after the last exhale, let's extend our right leg, twisting that back over. Let's release that right leg back down to the mat here. And let's give ourselves a moment to feel the difference between the legs. You can definitely feel that one leg's a little bit more stretched out than the other. Excellent. Let's do the same on the other side. Shifting if you're using a block, the block to the other side. Let's inhale that left leg all the way up. Exhale, dropping it over to the side, coming into our lying leg twist. You may bend that left leg and then bend the right leg if you'd like, coming into cat pulling tail, holding onto your right foot for support. And if you'd like, you can extend your other arm out, twisting around. Let's breathe here, coming into our pose. And let's take our last breath in this pose as we remove our props. Let's extend that right leg out. Extend that left, twisting ourselves, coming back all the way over, sending our left leg back to the mat. Wonderful. Let's do one more stretch overhead, stretching our limbs and our body out, stretching our arms. Let's inhale, bring those legs in, coming into a bit of a cannonball pose here as we hold for just a moment, rocking back and forth ever so gently on our back. Let's take one last inhale in this pose. As we exhale, we're going to release ourselves coming into Shavasana. And as we have props, you are welcome to do Shavasana any way you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and grab my pillow and place my pillow under my knees. Why would I put my pillow under my knees? Because if I put my pillow under my head, we'd all go for a nap now. I'm going to go ahead and prop up my feet too with my blocks. But I'm going to get myself nice and comfortable here, however you'd like to. If you have a blanket you'd like to throw on or place over your hips, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take an inhale through the nose. And as we exhale, let's find ourselves relaxing our body. Here we go. Relaxing our feet. Letting our hands drop, maybe placing them on our bellies or next to us. Maybe if we have a pillow underneath our head, let's surrender into our Shavasana. Wonderful. And before we come up from our Shavasana today, I would like to read for you a passage from the Daily Stoic. Today's reading is on impossible without your consent. It reads, Today, I escaped from the crush of circumstances, or, better put, I threw them out, for the crush wasn't from the outside of me, but in my own assumptions. Marcus Aurelius. On tough days, we might say, my work is overwhelming, or my boss is really frustrating. If only we could understand that this is impossible. Someone can't frustrate you. Work can't overwhelm you. These are external objects, and they have no access to your mind. Those emotions you feel, as real as they are, come from the inside, not the outside. The Stoics use the word hypolepsis, which means taking up of perceptions, thoughts, and judgments by our mind. What we assume, what we willingly generate in our mind, that's on us. We can't blame other people for making us feel stressed or frustrated any more than we can blame them for our jealousy. The cause is within us. They're just the target. Food for thought. Excellent. And with that, I invite you to bring a little bit of movement into your body as you wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers. Let's stretch our arms and legs, allowing ourselves to come up from our Shavasana. And let's please remove any blocks that you might have aiding you in Shavasana, coming up to seated here. Once you find yourselves all unseated, let's inhale, sending the hands up into the air. Exhale, bringing them down into peace pose in front of the chest, as always. Well, I'd like to say thank you very much for spending this evening with me here in our yin class. And if you enjoyed tonight's yin flow, see me once again next Thursday at 8 p.m., not 11, as we changed it to 8 p.m., but 8 p.m. right here in the Asana Sana Yoga studio for another relaxing yin flow as we get ready to retire into the evening for bedtime. So, as always, I'd like to send you off with a be the light that you wish to see in the world. See the light that you wish to see in the world because it is there. Have a good evening, everyone. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Have a great rest of your day. See you all next week. Bye, everyone. Oh, glad. I'm glad. Wonderful. Have a great day. Good night.